February 2020 saw the release of the first live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie after some production troubles, including the movie rights changing from studio to studio, Sonic's original infamous design, and delaying the movie in order to fix said design. Despite these hurdles, the movie would go on to gross $319 million worldwide, as well as becoming the highest grossing video game to film adaptation in North America at the time of recording. Had it not been for the pandemic lockdowns, the movie would have probably grossed higher. Still, this was successful enough for Paramount to greenlight a sequel that will be released in April of 2022. Of course, depending on where you are and when you're watching this video, the movie is probably out by now. There's been a lot of promotional material to hype up the second movie. In addition to the usual trailers, there has been Super Bowl promotions, toys, mobile games, McDonald's, and a lot of posters. And yes, one of them is a recreation of the Sonic 2 game art. This movie will be bringing in more game elements after all. The final promotional material prior to release, and the subject of today's video, is a tie-in comic book called Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the official movie Pre-Quill. Get it? It would be published by IDW, who currently has the rights to the Sonic comics. This was not the only time the Sonic movie universe dabbled into the comic scene. When the Blu-ray version of the first movie came out, it came packaged with a Sonic comic called The Adventures of Sonic and Donut Lord, which is a retelling of the first movie using 16-bit sprites. For my thoughts on it and the first movie, you can check out this video here. I'm happy to report that the Sonic 2 Pre-Quill comic will not be using 16-bit sprites. They called upon the artistic talents of Evan Stanley, Tracy Yardley, and Adam Bryce Thomas, all of whom worked on the Sonic comics. The writer for this special is Keel Fegley. While he may be new to Sonic comics in general, he's no stranger to writing for movie Sonic, as he's written the novelization for the first movie, as well as the one for the sequel. We have 5 stories to get through, and because the comic assumes you've seen the first movie, there will be major spoilers for that film. So if you haven't seen that yet, or at least read about it, do so now before coming back. But I'm a nice guy, so I'll fill you in on certain details and characters as we look at each of the stories. There will also be spoilers for the 5 stories, and I might as well play spoilers for the second Sonic movie, since the comic does set up the character situations that will play out in the sequel. And so with that, let's get started. The first story, Hedgehog Day Afternoon, starts with Sonic trapped in a bank vault, and then we flash back to 12 hours earlier. So, just like the first movie, we have a how we got here situation. This lady right here is Maddie Wachowski, played by Tika Sumpter in the films. She's the wife of Green Hills Sheriff Tom Wachowski, played by James Marsden. Of all the people in Green Hills, Montana, Sonic admires the Wachowskis the most. And after the events of the first movie, the couple essentially adopts Sonic. As you can see by the art, Maddie here does not resemble her actress. We'll see it with the rest of the human characters as we go through the story. That's because this story was penciled by Adam Bryce Thomas, and his style, for the most part, is anime-esque. In fact, I can tell this was Adam's art right away by the way he drew Sonic. It definitely resembles the way he draws Sonic on the regular IDW Sonic comics, just bluer and fuzzier. Yeah, I've reviewed Sonic comics long enough to pick up the styles of each individual artist. Going back to the story, Maddie is a vet, and when she has to leave for the clinic, she tells Sonic to be on his best behavior until Tom gets back from his trip, just like any mother would. Unfortunately, Sonic, being Sonic, can't stay put for a second before being bored out of his mind, so he decides to sneak out for a little bit of fun. One of those bits involves him monologuing on how things have changed for him since the events of the first film to a donut with sunglasses. Obviously, it's a nod to Tom, aka Donut Lord. At the same time, he's also chatting with this guy, Crazy Carl, the first human to spot Sonic. They have a relationship akin to Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd prior to Sonic meeting Tom, and the townsfolk called Carl crazy for making up this Blue Devil. We soon get to the real issue with Sonic. Robotnik was the only real exciting thing that's happened to him recently, and now that he's gone, life for him is boring by comparison. Well, some excitement is going on in Walla Walla, Washington in the form of a bank robbery. The robbers aren't after money. They've been hired by a client to break into a safety deposit box, which contains one of Robotnik's control gloves. By pure coincidence, Tom's trip is just outside of Walla Walla, a fishing trip to be precise. He and his deputy/buddy Wade are just chilling when Wade pulls out his police scanner, hoping to pick up something interesting. Cue the bank robbery. At the same time, Sonic hears about the robbery on the news, which means it's time to be a hero. His arrival startles a bank employee named Lindsay, and that's all she's freaked out about. I don't know about you, but I would be unsettled by a giant blue rodent if I'm not familiar with it already. Lindsay wants to know if Sonic can stop the robbers, and when Sonic says he can, she says the leader is in the vault. Sonic zips around looking for the head honcho, only to be tasered by Lindsay. In a way, she's right. The leader was in the vault. It just happened to be her. With her cover blown and the police surrounding the building, she phones the client. When she tells him about Sonic, he's willing to pay extra if he's brought to him in one piece. As for getting out, thanks to the robber with the glove, they're about to get some help with the extraction. Robotnik drones. They arrive shortly after Tom and Wade do, and they witness the drones lifting the entire vault with Sonic still inside. After seeing what the drones can do, Lindsay and the other robbers decide to screw the client and use Robotnik's technology to make a lot more money. So we're going with that cliche, huh? Well, not if Sonic can help it. He runs inside the vault, causing it to spin so fast the drones drop it. He then charges up to bust himself out and takes care of the robbers before they can even fire a shot. Meanwhile, Tom uses his fishing rod to take care of some Robotnik drones. Perhaps he can teach some of those moves to a giant purple cat one day. One drone is still inside, and as Lindsay tries to use it to attack Sonic, the drone instead snatches the glove and her and flies off. Something tells me the client is responsible. Lindsay won't get to meet him as we see her fall from the sky. Sonic saves her, just in time for her to be turned over to the police along with her colleagues. Outside, Tom tells Wade he wants to keep all of this a secret from Sonic, unaware that the Hedgehog was the reason the robbers were caught. They're also unaware that Sonic snatched their victory donuts for himself. What a hog. The story's main purpose is to establish Sonic's need to be a crime-fighting superhero. A recurring gag throughout is Sonic trying to come up with a clever name, much to the annoyance of the robbers. He eventually settled on the title Blue Justice. In a way, he is a superhero, he has powers, and he's just beaten his first supervillain. Might as well go all in and fight crime. Otherwise, Sonic will just get bored. Thanks to the second movie's trailers, we know Sonic will continue to do this for some time. And like in this story, he'll cause some collateral damage. Robotnik having one of his gloves in a safety deposit box for emergencies is something he would do. Either he or somebody associated with him might have even counted on someone else trying to use the glove for their own purposes and program the drones not to respond to those that are beneath them. It's kind of like the One Ring in Sauron from Lord of the Rings. So what happened to the glove after the drones stole it from Lindsay? It was delivered to this man in an alleyway. This here is the client. And it perfectly segues into story 2, where we learn more about this guy. The secret of my distress starts with a replay of the client receiving Robotnik's glove. This guy is Agent Stone, Robotnik's loyal minion from the films. Getting the glove is part of a contingency plan Robotnik has set up for Stone, just in case something were to happen to the Doctor. The first step is to have Stone integrate himself into normal society. He gets himself a job at Karen's coffee shop, where the owner, Karen, and the assistant manager start treating him horribly right away. How horribly? When Stone presented Karen with the latte with steamed goat milk, she spat it back at his face. And the assistant manager will take all the tips for himself. This does not deter Stone. He vows to another employee that he will run the place within a week. He makes good on that vow, as one by one, he gets rid of all the employees that annoy him, starting with the cashier. She has Stone cover her shift while she ditches work. Thanks to some Robotnik drones, she's never coming back. Thankfully, the drones just dismantle her vehicle. The greedy assistant manager though, when Stone sends some Robotnik drones after him, they grab him and he's taken somewhere else. We don't know where, and it's probably for the best. Due to the decreasing staff, Karen promotes Stone to assistant manager. Finally, Stone gets rid of Karen herself by having her arrested for money laundering. And thanks to Stone's manipulations, she'll be in prison for a long time. Stone even calls her to gloat, as well as letting her know that he'll be taking good care of the coffee shop. The story ends with the new boss Stone telling his one remaining employee that they will be installing new equipment and plan to change the name. Something mean to go along with those coffee beans. If you've seen the movie trailers, or possibly the movie, you might have noticed Stone working in a coffee shop. Initially, it's to make the audience think that without Robotnik around, he's reduced to working in an ordinary job, only to later learn that Stone used the coffee shop to set up a new Robotnik base. Turns out this is what Robotnik wanted all along in the event he returns, which he does. The fact that Robotnik trusted Stone enough with his technology and philosophy to pull this off shows that on some level, he does respect his lackey. This brings us to said philosophy. It was established in the first film that Robotnik had a disdain for humanity in general, that they are beneath him. His manifesto/instructions to Stone, seen throughout the story, can be compared to those nature documentaries. This is how humans act, and how you can manipulate them to your advantage. And Stone did just that. I know Stone comes off as a manipulative genius thanks to learning from his master, and thus upping his villain cred, but the story actually makes you want to root for the guy because the humans at the coffee shop are grade A jerks. Except for the one guy who ended up becoming Stone's lackey. That's usually how it works in media. There are characters so unlikable that you want to see them get their comeuppance. Either by a hero, a likable villain, or in this case, the likable lackey of a likable villain. Tracy Yardley penciled this story, and one of his best traits in my opinion are facial expressions, whether they be from Sonic characters, or in this case, humans. Also, a nice touch are the drones used to dismantle the cashier's car. I take it they're meant to be a nod to the crab meat badniks. I mean, why not? We're getting drones that resemble buzz bombers in the film. Alright, if you're tired of seeing human characters, let's shift over to some stories featuring some familiar game characters. With a story titled Always Bet on Red, naturally the focus is on Big the Cat. No, it's about Knuckles. He's searching through many worlds to find the hedgehog that is the key to everything. Unfortunately, the volcanic world he arrives on catches him off guard and he falls down a cliff. He's fine, but stunned, leaving him vulnerable to be captured by scavengers. And for some reason, one of them is wearing a headpiece that has a style similar to Sonic. Knuckles is taken to another world, where he's placed in a gladiator-type situation. His opponent is this champion, a giant multi-head, multi-limbed lobster monster. He doesn't have time for this nonsense, so he powers up, breaks free, and takes down the lobster monster in one punch. After the fight, and he is freed, Knuckles walks up to the scavengers that captured him and recruits them on his quest to find Sonic. This short story establishes Knuckles as a powerful force, if the trailers didn't do so already. He's also the Determinator, not letting anything, whether it be the elements or an arena fight, stand in the way of his quest. Like in the games, he is indeed the last Echidna, meaning something happened to the tribe between the prologue of the first movie and present day. Perhaps the second film will address this. At the beginning of the story, Knuckles prefers to work alone, probably due to Echidna pride or something. But at the end, he is willing to work with those that captured him in order to hunt down Sonic. This actually calls back to what he said earlier about how his tribe used to hunt in packs. So in a way, he's forming his own makeshift pack to help him. This also foreshadows his eventual alliance with Robotnik, since both their goals lead to Sonic. One thing I neglected to mention is the location of the arena Knuckles fought the lobster monster. It's Casino Night. I don't know if it was Keel's idea, or Evan Stanley's, who worked on the art. Though I suspect she placed the Chaotix here as cameos. Yes, all three are present, as you can see Charmy's antennae right here. Which makes me wonder, does Casino Night have an age limit? Regardless, it's nice to see the trio, as always, trying to get some money. this is not the only story with heavy nods to the games. Now that we've established Knuckles, it's time to establish, or re-establish, Tails, since he briefly appeared in the first movie's mid-credits scene. As you saw in the trailers, it has been redone to update Tails' design. Another recent trailer revealed that it's been updated yet again to include a yellow backpack for the guy. I'm not putting up the image because at this point, I don't want to risk any spoilers popping up in my search. But trust me, he now has a yellow backpack, as you can see right here in the comic. 2 for the Road starts with Tails traveling to Longclaw's home, which no one visited ever since the Echidna Tribe incident went down. He scans a drawing of Sonic to lock onto his energy signature, then he starts warping to different locations. And like Knuckles, he's determined to find Sonic no matter what. And no location hazards or an encounter with the lizard warrior Rava will stop him. Now Rava here was actually originally supposed to be the one hunting down Sonic at the beginning of the first film, but instead it was changed to the Echidna Tribe, probably for the best. About these various locations Tails warps to, they look kind of familiar, don't they? Screw it, they're game locations. In order of appearance, we have Marble Zone and Spring Yard Zone from Sonic 1, and then Aquatic Ruin and Hilltop Zone from Sonic 2. Again, I don't know if it was Keel's idea or Evan's to use these game levels. I know Evan's a big Sonic fan, but what about Keel? Does anyone know for sure? For now, I'm going to assume yes until told otherwise. Back to the story. During Tails' journey, he's discovered that someone's following him. When he reaches Hilltop, he has 2 choices on where to find Sonic based on the energy signatures he's picking up, either the Mushroom Planet or Earth. And with his pursuers closing in, he picks one world and heads off. And who exactly has been following Tails? The scavengers from the last story. When they report to Knuckles, he says he knows of one more place he can search. Mushroom Planet! Sorry folks, I needed to clear my throat. It is kind of surreal seeing Tails explore some levels in the movie universe. Heck, the fact that these locations exist is surprising enough. Then again, they are on alien planets, so I'll let that slide. I assume, like so many things brought up in this story, Tails' reason for trying to find Sonic will be explained in the movie. I've got nothing else to say about this story except it's Tails being Tails, a resourceful kid genius that will be a big help to Sonic. I mean, him tracking his energy signature throughout different worlds is pretty impressive. Now based on this shot right here, it's assumed he went to Earth. But I wouldn't be surprised if he actually went to Mushroom World first. Once again, at this point in time, I have not seen the movie, so I'd be surprised if I get this one right. Tails' choice between either Earth and the Mushroom Planet would make sense based on his readings. We know Sonic's on Earth. But what about the energy in Mushroom World? Well, there is someone there that has a piece of Sonic, and I believe it's time we check in on him. Mushroom with a View picks up where we last left Robotnik in the film, trying to survive on Mushroom World and vowing to return around Christmas time. As he rambles on about getting even with Earth, and especially with the Hedgehog, he comes across a blue mushroom, which he eats, and starts tripping. He follows a trail of them to a cave, and before harvesting them, he finds out there is life on this world the hard way. These things, that look like a combination of Audrey 2 and the mushroom creatures from Mom and Dad Save the World, start swarming Robotnik in an attempt to eat him, but he refuses to be devoured. A big one shows up, possibly the mother, and Robotnik has just a response for it, a flamethrower. He burns the entire cave and walks off, stating that nothing will get in the way of him surviving on Mushroom World and returning to Earth to get revenge on Sonic. While Keel did write the story, from what I've read online, Jim Carrey himself provided some input on this one. The guy really likes playing Robotnik. The fact that he's doing a sequel to Sonic is amazing enough. Besides that, Ace Ventura and Dumb and Dumber, he does not like doing sequels. All the story really does is show us Robotnik's slow descent into madness and his single-minded obsession with Sonic. Eating some mushrooms probably helped him along a bit. Tracy Yardley must have had a blast drawing this story. I'm probably reading too much into this, but I think him burning the cave with all those mushroom creatures might foreshadow what he will do to the world when he returns. He may be going bonkers, but he still maintains that arrogant idea that he is superior to everything. Be careful, world, especially you, Sonic. Here are my final thoughts on this one shot. Since Quill wrote the entire thing, I like how, for the most part, one story has elements that tie in to another one. It adds a sense of connectivity. Overall, I did enjoy the stories. Now, even though it says it's an official product, I mean it has the Paramount logo and everything on the cover, I don't think people will get lost if they miss out on this comic. In other words, you might have no problem jumping from movie 1 to movie 2. However, if by some chance you read the prequel comic, or are watching my review of it, it may enhance your viewing experience of movie 2. Have a good day, and go watch Sonic 2 the movie if you haven't already. I hope Charming doesn't do anything that gets the Chaotix banned for life from Casino Night.